Yeah.
I'm sure you started saying so nicely. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, like I said,
Do you
it's a
mind?
great.
Sorry, do you mind just introducing yourself when you speak of
Sure.
something?
Sure. I'm Ariel. I'm from Costa Rica, but I've been here for with a while, and I'm part of the group here with Ross.
I'm Ross, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay.
We met each other, so.
And what I was saying is like I think maybe I'm speaking for all of here, but I think at some I think of this a lot of the time, and I think we understand that. But how do we get this message across to like non-Jews and a wider audience that is not just like the Jewish community also. That's it. That's my like thought. Like obviously this lady, the Ask Arabs, I forgot her name, but that's like an amazing story, right? Rowan, yeah.
Yeah, interesting. I don't want to jump in, but so there's definitely been that same question, like, okay, this is great, but all Jewish people watching, we're all like, yeah, everybody's anti-Semitic, and we experience it all the time. But how can the movie be used to influence people who don't understand it, who aren't living and experiencing it?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's address that. First of all, you're right. It really should be shown to, I think, as many people as possible. The amount of lies and the amount of misinformation out there about the Jewish people, about Israel, is terrible. So it's really a question of education. Maybe I should just speak for myself, but as Saret, we believe the Jewish people really need to hear this. Even though we experienced, I think, for most of us in our lifetimes, most probably the strongest sense of Jewish unity ever in our lifetimes, we experienced on October the 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th. And it lasted for, depends who you are and what you were in touch with, 2-3 weeks, maybe a month or two. It's definitely dissipated since then. On October the 6th, it was terrible, right? On October the 6th, Israel was on the brink of a civil war. So I think they really, even though, as you said, that we know these things, we know them, but we need to be aware of them. You can know something and you can forget what you know. And for us, our real focus is actually on getting this to 1 million Jewish people. I think that will really shift the needle in terms of, and this, it's a very unique message. I hope you got that out of this film. It's a unique message that we have a mission as a people. We're a unique people with a very special mission. We need to go back to it. We need to understand it. We need to learn about it, and we need to live it. So, yes, by the way, we are a small group and our distribution is very small so far. We're really trying to build it up. So if you have any contacts or ideas, I would love to hear them, see how you could help us. Ross is an example, right? Yeah, you brought a bunch of guys together. Let's watch a film. This is important. This is how it's got to work. So we are trying on all levels. There have been some Christian channels that picked it up and have shown it to their people, mainly evangelical. It's hard to cross to the other side to really show it to anti-Semites. They're not that interested. But again,
I guess
it's more, what we can do is we can watch it ourselves and we can talk about it and we can strengthen ourselves. Alavai, we'll get to the non-Jewish world as well.
Yeah, but I'd actually reiterate, because I watched it a long time ago, right? Originally, when it first came out. I haven't seen it since that first time you guys let me see it until now again. And so I think you're right. I think seeing it, even though we say, okay, we live it and everything else, seeing it again reinforces all the messages from it. You watch it, I think it touches you and it opens your eyes to certain things. And then you kind of get back in your regular life. And, maybe just like you said, October 8th, it was important, maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks, maybe a month, depending where you were. And then all of a sudden, real life kicks in. Maybe you change a little bit, but to have larger changes takes some repetition. So, it is interesting that you're saying it, 'cause I'm probably the only one who's seen it more than once. And yeah, no, watching it the second time sort of had an impact, even though I'd already seen it, because it's a reminder of sort of some things maybe I just forgot along the way.
Yeah.
Rabbi, I
The
just
truth
wanted
is,
to,
there's a lot in the film. Yes.
I'm sorry, if you had something to say after Ross, I'm sorry.
No. Go ahead.
Just, it's nice to meet you. I have not heard of the Aseret movement, so this is very exciting to me, and I'd be happy to reach out afterwards and learn more about it. And I think it's amazing work that you're doing. I also wanted to thank Ross. I'm new to the group. My name's David. But what Ross is doing in creating these resources and community is, I think, a very exciting and very stimulating thing, particularly where we are in Orange County, and also broadly speaking for the community in the U.S. So he's doing some great local work. I wonder if you could speak to a theme that was in the movie, but not particularly brought out, which is this whole dynamic between the Yetzer Hara and the Yetzer Tov. And the idea that life as a Jew is in following the Ten Commandments and the Torah, we're basically in our own work to balance and overcome those tendencies from the Yetzer Hara so that we can expand and grow our Yetzer Tov. And so we know the translation of the Yetzer Hara is the evil inclination. I wonder when it's through the movie, I kept thinking like, well, so the world's just out of balance. I mean, the Yetzer Hara is just out of control with it. It is a human condition. It's not a unique Jewish duality. All people have a Yetzer Tov or Yetzer Hara. We define it in our own way, and we have a guide to work with. And just that, to me, that seems like a beautiful way into your organization, where you're speaking to like creating this information distribution to 1 million Jews, where we strengthen and come back to what helps us with our Yetzer Tov. That's a great medicine for how to create change, in my opinion, as opposed to going out and saying to others, like, hey, do this, or hey, have you learned about this? Maybe it just starts from, like, I think like you're suggesting, from our own work that we do.
Okay. Wow, David. So I'm appointing you the spokesman for the organization. I love that, and I really wish that everyone could take that message. It's very rare that I hear anyone taking it, so I'm very impressed. I wrote something down that I use sometimes. The war we are on is on all fronts, and it has to be fought on all fronts. But the front that we are all fighting on 24/7 is the front of light and darkness, of good and bad. In your words, this evil inclination that we all have and this good inclination that we all have is at odds. And we're in the middle of this battle. And this battle perhaps is the most important battle. And it's definitely the one that we can all fight. We can, let me finish what I wrote. Simply put, this is a battle over Sinai. They don't want it, and we need to uphold it. And the amazing thing about it is you can uphold it in your daily life. We can sit here and we can debate. I don't know who I'm talking to, so I might be out of line. But, whether Netanyahu's doing a good job or not. And I'm sure we'd have a hearty debate about it. And, is it going to change anything? Any of you calling him tomorrow to tell him what we discussed? Right? it's now, I'm not like a fundamentalist like that. Of course, he's got to do a good job, and the IDF's got to do a good job, and we got to do on all fronts. And the truth is, if you're in leadership positions, you're faced with those decisions. But most of us, let's face it, on our daily life, we're not faced with those huge decisions affecting millions of people. We're actually dealing with very few people. But that doesn't negate the choice that's in front of us all the time. Are we going to be conduits of light into the world? Are we bringing light into our families, into our workplace? Are we being a mensch? Are we treating people with love and kindness and respect? And that doesn't ever mean being a walkover, but respect it does mean. And are we bringing that into our own life? Are we being elevated in who we are? So I think, yeah, I love your point. And a lot of what I teach, it's interesting. In Israel, Aseret teaches a lot about creating a society based on Aseret, based on the Ten Commandments, the foundational principles. I tend to teach much more about individual development, elevation, and fulfillment through the Ten Commandments, because that's where we are. So at every level, every person can really take this seriously. It's, to me, the most important thing in life is to, who are you as a person? As I'm sure he didn't make it up, but no one ever, Rabbi Sachs says, no one ever wrote on a tombstone, here's Charlie who owns 7 Bentleys and 6 houses, and no, on your tombstone he was a mensch. He treated a beautiful father, a beautiful friend, a beautiful leader, whatever it is. So that's the most important question. We need to live in this world, and of course we got to try our best to be as successful as we can, but the way we do it and the importance we give to this moral and ethical mission cannot be understated. So yeah, way to go.
Dr. Rabbi, nice to see you. Haven't seen you for a very long time.
Well,
Last time I saw
I can't see the back of I can't see the back of the room.
Stephen.
Oh, Stephen, how's it, Stephen? Wow, good to see you.
And you.
So I have a quick question. First of all, thanks for coming on, Rabbi. But you talk about wanting 1 million Jews to see the movie, but where is your target audience for this? I get that Jews overall is the goal, but are you trying to have Jews that are in Israel see it, and Jews in America, like where Jews elsewhere? Who's like the focus of the organization to see the film?
Okay, great question. So it's really our prime goal is that high school students and university students should see it. We think it would make the biggest impact there. They desperately need it. There's a fantastic book. I forget what it's called, but I know the author. His name is, give me a second, David Hazoni wrote this, got 33 pro-Israel Zionists from campuses to write articles, to write chapters in his book. And they had a gathering here in Baltimore last week. Three of the students came, and David came, and they told us what's going on campus. And like, and these are educated, like really impressive, three women, and you'd think, you'd look at them and you'd think, wow, these are like regular, like liberal-minded students, and no, they were like, there is serious anti-Semitism out there, and our students are in trouble. And listen, can we get those Jews that stand with those people screaming, from the river to the sea? I don't know. But there are a lot of lost Jews out there. There are a lot of Jews that have lost the plot. They're not sure. They get fed all day long. Every time I show this film, to a wide audience, Rabbi, how can we be killing children? How can Israel be murdering? And I'm like, really? Like, come on. Like, am I happy about it? Do I rejoice in that? Of course not. Would I love for there to be peace? Of course. But like, how can you believe what and so yeah, we got to get to them. And really, yeah, Israel as well. Israelis don't have a unified, clear mission about who the Jewish people are and what our mission in Israel is. They don't. From left to right, I don't even think the very religious have it very clear. Definitely not a united mission. So first, high school, college, across America, actually across the world. We've already given subtitles in Spanish. So we've had a few screenings in Spanish countries, in Mexico, organizing some in Argentina, hopefully. But open to that. And then, we host online screenings. I would say our demographic for that is older, right? Older people who are Jewish, who are very interested or open to this. But yeah, that's, I don't know if that's such a clear answer, but that's where we're going. If you have thoughts about it and want to help me, jump on the bandwagon.
So the philosophy is if you get 1 million Jews to understand anti-Semitism and, like you said, light versus dark and bring more light, that in itself is the combat against everything that's going on there. Because the more light we can shine together, the more that should just take off. I mean, that's conservative, as opposed to sitting there saying, hey, how do we show it to the anti-Semites who aren't going to watch it anyway? The answer is show it to the Jews. We shine a light on ourselves, be more proud of who we are and act in a way that reflects who we are in order to influence the people who basically hate us for no apparent reason.
Yeah. And I think, going back to what David said, there's a spiritual idea. This is a mystical idea. So if you're a very rational person, I don't know, listen to Spotify or something for 3 minutes. But this is there's a spiritual idea, a mystical idea, that this inner conflict is related to the outer conflict. If we would get our inner conflict, right? If we get our act together and it starts with each one of us, that would have a tremendous effect on the outer conflict. So it's not, to me, it's a very firm belief. I have a lot more thoughts on the depth of that and why that's true. I'll just give you one anecdote. There's a very interesting guy in Israel called Tzvi Yechezkeli. He used to be a spy, spent a lot of time with Palestinians. He was in Gaza. He was and one of our team in Israel interviewed him and said, what would they think if Israel kind of turned around and embraced something spiritual that, went back to our 10 commandments and started to really learn them and live with them. And and he was like, you have no idea how they would change. And I think the word he used was respect. You'd gain respect, so we often think we're fighting here and there. No, the fight's here. The fight's here. The fight starts with us. The fight starts with us knowing who we are, learning it and living it. And, as much as we all do, we know it's beautiful. That's our mission. It's beautiful. And then the rest of the world will follow on. Okay, gentlemen, what are you going to do to bring this film to the world? Let's hear your ideas.
I was going to ask if you guys have for example, like social media presence, for one, right? Because I feel like,
Especially with the target
yeah,
demo.
especially with the target demographic, I'm always posting like stories and stuff like that, and I've had people non-Jewish like reach out to me and be like, "Thank you for what you post. You're like the only person in my feed that is posting like pro-Israel stuff." So like, just as an individual act, if everyone can do that, and that I think would be a way to
Yeah.
reach out to
Yeah.
more
So
people, and
you're
also,
right.
yeah,
So
social
the
media is
truth is,
big.
Rawan's very good. Rawan has a very good social media presence. We have a very poor one.
Yeah, I'm gonna start posting your stuff probably.
We have a poor one. We have to work on it. A lot of our issue is money. We have a very small budget. We're building out a much bigger one. And we need a fundraise. So, but that's certainly, we know that especially if we want to get to the demographic that we want to get to, not only, to attract them to see the film, but that's where they live. That's where they get educated,
Right.
so.
Yeah, even having the movie on YouTube, right? To link like all of that stuff, like I think would do
Yeah. So
wonders.
we have a lot of inner debate about whether to put it on YouTube. At this stage, we feel we don't have the money to really promote it properly, and just to put it there, and and also it lessens its value a little. We're really looking for like a proper network, like Netflix. I think would, even though I hope you appreciate, like, sitting together. This is how I think about it. Like, you can watch this film at home, and it's like, yeah, okay, wow. You watch it with a group of other Jews. It's a kind of like you got to pinch yourself. The film, it's like, I don't know, it's amazing how it came out, because it's such a hard hitting, like a deep, not hard hit, deep hit, deep touching film, that you pinch yourself and say, is that what it means to be Jewish? Like, is that it? Like, I get it. Like, do other Jews get it? And you look around and you see everyone's thinking the same thoughts. That's power. That's power. So, yeah, we've got to get it to groups of people, to make these screenings, and to really make them powerful. And I think it really helps to be together, and also to have someone speak afterwards to help people think about it and to digest it a little.
Rabbi, do you have partnerships with some of the groups like Hillel International or the Solomon Schechter School System or Stand With Us, or some of the groups that will
So,
already be the community that you're looking for?
yeah, a little bit. Actually, End Jew Hatred, Lawfare, Brooke Goldstein, she's probably our biggest partner, often helping to sponsor screenings. But yeah, we're still early days with that. We need to, this should be a Hillel staple. Like, every Hillel house in the country should have this for sure.
Or say anybody going on birthright should see this film before, during, after, whatever the case may be, so that it becomes more curriculum, more programmatic, and not kind of like a one-off showing.
Mm-hmm.
Or I agree with you. I think loose content on the internet. I think what we've seen is that the trolls and the anti-Semites actually own that space, particularly around, like they infiltrate with negativity and everything else in almost any kind of open source information. So I think that could be a dangerous platform in some ways, or counterproductive, I should say.
Can be. Yeah,
So
the comments are awful.
yeah, yeah. So I think, to your point, like having something organized and having the opportunity to be a group, having an opportunity to speak afterwards and process in a more programmatic way, I think it really builds the content that you have in the film.
Yeah. So we need to get there. Working hard.
Well, Rabbi, listen, we've got a strong group here. I think we can keep the conversation going, among all of us, and we've got a little bit more of an extended group too, to kind of keep that conversation going, knowing that the missions to try to get this into 1 million Jews' hands. I'm sure we could all work together with some idea. I mean, I always put everybody in a spot and ideas, and they always get mad at me. So I do think there'd probably be some really good ideas flowing through the group, though. So I think we let it just set in a little bit and keep the conversation going, and make you part of the conversation too, so that you
Please.
can see
That
ideas
would be
floating.
amazing.
Yeah, that would be good. I think that's a good
So,
mission. Maybe
yeah.
into
So,
that.
one thing I'll tell you all, my mother is, please God, turning 90 on June the 29th. We're having a party. She lives in LA, so I'll be out there, and then I'm gonna try spend maybe a week, 2 weeks on the West Coast. So if there's something of the week of June the 30th that we could try pull together, that would be amazing. But yeah, please, let's be in touch. I want to, not like selling too much. I wrote a little book called The Jewish Mission. I'll send Ross the link if you guys want to get it. It's on Amazon now. And I think it kind of, it will give you the first step to looking at the Ten Commandments in a new way. They're not just commandments; they're principles, and they're concepts there that are so rich and beautiful for a meaningful, elevated life. And that's where it starts. So I encourage you to get the
I
book.
have never before, but this is how I met you, through this Astra boost that you were doing. So how about you leave us with one inspirational thing based on what you're saying from your book? Because I know what your books, I'll tell everybody what the book's about, but basically it's taking the Ten Commandments and making them a little bit more practical. I don't know if that's the right word, but applicable, right? And I'm not sure exactly how to put it, but putting a positive note on each one of them too, to take a lesson out of there. So I don't know if you want to leave the group.
Yeah, I'll give you an example. So it's really, the first step is realizing that these are principles. They aren't just commandments. In fact, never in the Torah are they called the Ten Commandments. They're called the Aseret HaDevarim. Later on in rabbinic thought, they started to be called the Aseret HaDibrot. You might have heard that phrase. So one of the things with all the negatives, at least, one of the keys to understanding them is turning them into a positive. So, let's take Lo Tirtzach, do not murder. So we all know murder is a terrible thing. Society can't work with it. But how are we meant to live with that on a day-to-day, minute-to-minute basis? That's what Ross means by making it practical, right? Making it relevant, making it deeply relevant to your spiritual life. So it's an easy one. Why don't we murder? Yeah, it's wrong. Well, why is it wrong? Because we have this acknowledgement that every single person is created not only as unique, but as what's called a tselem Elokim, a image of God. There's a godliness, which means there's goodness. There's something worthwhile. There's something incredibly important about every single human being. And we know that. We know that from our own experience. We live an entire life. So murder is an affront to the Tselem Elokim, right? It's to this image of this godliness, this goodness, this uniqueness in every single person. If we just would turn it around and say, hang on a second, murdering would be the worst thing. What would be the best thing? How could I honor that image of God in every person? And then something funny happens. You realize, wow, that's even relevant to me. That's relevant to me. So you'll see in the book that life is not just physical, it's emotional, it's intellectual, it's spiritual, it's all of that. And the foundational principle, I like to call it, is to be a life nurturer. Nurture life. Live towards and for shalom, peace. right? Now, the Hebrew word peace is not only not a lack of conflict, it's related to the word shalem, to be complete. We want to reach we strive for perfection. We strive for greatness. We strive to be complete. So be complete in yourselves and try to be complete with others. Try to help others complete themselves. That's living with this awareness, this spirituality of Lo Tetzach. You know, something we've seen you see it up there wherever doesn't matter what shul it is. Orthodox, conservative, reform, they all got the 10 commandments on the wall. And you see, don't murder. And like, why? Oh, don't murder? Like, you slow down driving. When you get this, you're like, hey, I'm driving. Like, this is dangerous. So let me drive like a mensch. Let me drive like I'm nurturing my own life and the life of others. So that's my blessing to all of you. Do one thing, drive home safely.
Thank you,
Thank
Rabbi.
you so
Really-
much. This has been really excellent. I'm so glad we could get together, and I look forward to being in touch.
Thank
Sounds
you.
good. Thank you.
Hey, God bless. Bye.